So, you sent us this massive stack of historical wildlife data this week, the Apex Truth Files.
Oh yeah, they are intense.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive is basically to sift through these reports and figure out exactly what happens when humans accidentally shatter that invisible glass wall. You know, the psychological one that keeps us safely at the top of the food chain. We were looking at the deadliest man-eaters in history.
Yeah, and I think it's crucial to point out right away that these aren't like mindless movie monsters.
No, not at all.
When you look at the behavioral ecology in these files, you see animals pushed to the absolute brink, whether it's by environmental collapse or just really strange ecological loops.
They basically look across that glass wall and realize humans are, well, remarkably soft, right?
Exactly. Soft, slow, and incredibly easy calories.
Which is a terrifying thought. And the first file really drops us right into that nightmare. It takes us to the murky waters of the Kali River in Nepal, specifically around 1988 and 2007.
The Goonch catfish incidents.
Yes, the Goonch. The reports describe something lurking in those depths, a behemoth up to 7 feet long. Witnesses literally called it an elongated pig with a chasm-like mouth packed with serrated backward-facing teeth.
Which is such a visceral description.
It is. But let's talk about those teeth first, because, I mean, how does a fish manage to hold on to a thrashing teenager? Is this just myth blurring with reality?
It sounds like a myth, but it's terrifying biology.
Oh.
So think of those backward-facing teeth like a one-way turnstile at a stadium.
Okay.
Something can slide in smoothly, but the moment it tries to pull back, the teeth just dig in. So once the goonch clamps down, the victim's own struggling actually drives the teeth deeper into the flesh.
Wow.
Yeah. But the real story here, the really chilling part, is the behavioral shift.
The funeral rites.
Exactly. Locals traditionally release the cremated remains of their loved ones into this specific river.
Wait, hold on. I mean, I understand a fish scavenging on burnt offerings, but cremains are essentially just, ashes and small bone fragments.
Right.
How does an animal make the leap from bottom feeding on ashes to actively hunting a swimming, thrashing human? That seems like a massive jump.
It does, but it's really a process of escalating boldness. So, scavenging on those highly concentrated calories allowed a few of these fish to grow to, well, abnormal massive sizes.
Okay, they get huge.
They get huge, and more importantly, it completely desensitized them to the scent and presence of humans. We inadvertently broke down their natural fear response.
Oh, wow. So once an apex predator loses its fear of us...
It goes large enough to easily take us down, yeah. The behavioral jump from scavenging remains to hunting a live target in that exact same environment is surprisingly small.
So the goose became man-eaters almost by accident. I mean, we practically spoon-fed them until they lost their fear.
Yeah, we conditioned them.
But what happens when the human-animal relationship flips from, accidental feeding to desperate starvation? Because that brings us to our second stack of files, the 1930s in Tanzania and the Njambi lion pride.
Yeah, the casualty numbers here are just staggering, an estimated 1,500 deaths.
Unbelievable.
And this wasn't accidental conditioning. This was triggered by a massive ecological collapse. A viral plague called rinderpest swept through the region, and it acted like this biological wildfire.
It specifically targeted hooved animals.
Exactly. It completely wiped out the lion's natural prey. The buffalo, wildebeest, cattle, just gone.
Which leaves an entire pride of unusually small, fast lions facing total starvation.
Right, so they had to adapt immediately, and their adaptation was just chillingly methodical. They started traveling up to 20 miles a night to raid villages.
But they didn't just charge in.
No, they learned quickly that just charging into a compound was far too dangerous.
Reading these accounts gave me absolute chills because they used a calculated diversion. The records show families lived in these compounds with multiple huts, and the lions would attack one hut, often the wife's, and deliberately let the victim scream.
Yeah, it's horrifying.
They were just using that commotion to lure the husband or the neighbors out into the dark, where the rest of the pride was waiting in ambush. I mean, it's exactly like a horror movie slasher cutting the power just to trick you into stepping out of the house.
That is the terrifying reality of biological pragmatism. I mean, the local communities naturally thought these lions were controlled by a witch doctor.
Because it felt like supernatural malice.
Exactly. But it wasn't malice or witchcraft. It was just highly intelligent animals observing human protective instincts and weaponizing our social bonds against us to survive starvation.
So whether it's river monsters inadvertently conditioned by funeral rites, or lions employing literal siege tactics because a virus wiped out their food, These nightmares are almost always forged by human actions or environmental collapse. The ecosystem always adapts.
Yeah, it always finds a way. And that fragile glass wall of safety we talked about,
Yeah.
it only holds up as long as the natural order stays balanced.
Which leaves you with a deeply unsettling question to ponder tonight. As climate change forces urban areas and wild habitats to overlap more than ever before, the next great apex predator might not be a lion in the savannah or a catfish in a remote river. What ordinary animal out there in the dark is currently adapting in your city's sewer system or even your own backyard, just waiting for that glass wall to shatter?